Welcome to today's live. I am really excited to be back and doing teaching for y'all. I took a little bit of a break over the past couple weeks and it was great. I traveled, I went to Georgia, I went to California, and now I'm back in Austin. And I am really excited to see you all today and talk to you about some just big changes that I've made in my own approach to eating and my body, and how that can hopefully potentially impact you in a positive way. So if you're brand new to my channel, if you're brand new to following me, my name is Heather McConaughey and I'm a trained registered nurse. I was a registered nurse for 6.5 years, and then I became an online weight loss and nutrition coach about 5 years ago. So it was May of 2017 when I became a online coach, and it was so fun to start a business and to help people at my gym. So what we're going to talk about today is really the amazing results that I've produced in my life and the type of results that you can produce in your life too when you ditch yo-yo dieting. We're going to define what yo-yo dieting is. I think a lot of us, myself included, before I did this work, didn't really understand what dieting truly meant. We're going to talk about some of the struggles and the negatives to dieting that no one seems to really talk about when they are promoting weight loss to you as a potential customer. We're going to talk about some of the challenges of giving up dieting, because let me tell you, this work is not easy. It is really challenging work, which is why it's taken me about a year to even want to talk about it publicly and to create something new for you. We're also going to talk about some of the challenges that come in that experience, and we're also going to talk about some of the things that you can really create in your life when you give up dieting. So I just want to start by really defining what dieting is. And if you're watching live, go ahead and put in the comments what you think dieting is. How would you define it? If you're watching the replay, tell me in the comments below. If you're listening to this on my podcast, shoot me a message here on Instagram. Tell me what you think dieting is in the comments. So dieting is any change or modification to your eating or your movement that is designed to shrink your body. All right, so dieting equals trying to make yourself smaller through modification of your eating and your exercise. When we talk about yo-yo dieting, what many of us relate to as women is gaining and losing the same amount of weight, right? So maybe gaining 10 pounds, losing it, gaining 15, losing 12, kind of the yo-yo going back and forth. Some women relate to yo-yo dieting as, trying different things. So like, oh, I'm on keto now. And then you go back to eating however you ate before. And then you're like, oh, I'm doing macros now. Then you go back to however you were eating before. Oh, I'm vegan now, etc. So trying different diets in an attempt to shrink your body is dieting. If you just want to try being vegan because of ethical reasons, or you just want to try something new and you're not even thinking about it making your body smaller, that's not necessarily dieting. Although sometimes we can attach ourselves to an eating style like vegan or vegetarianism because we actually do have a preoccupation in the background with being smaller. So we just have to be aware of that if we are restricting foods for vegan or vegetarianism. Okay, so I want to, now that you know and you have what dieting is, I want you to just really imprint that in your brain. Dieting is changing your eating or your exercise to shrink your body, to make your body smaller. And if you haven't noticed, we're kind of obsessed with it in our culture. We're obsessed with it in America. We're obsessed with it, especially as women. We're kind of programmed to be obsessed about it. And a lot of us don't even question that obsession. We don't even question being taught and encouraged to make ourselves smaller. I want to just rewind to last summer. So like I said, I was a nurse for 6.5 years, and then I went and started doing online coaching, specifically around using macro counting for weight loss. I started that business because I had used macro counting myself to change my physique while I was doing CrossFit, and I was very pleased with the results. I was pleased with not just the fact that I had lost fat, but I was pleased with the fact that I had built muscle, and I was also pleased that my athletic performance had improved. And I was just very excited about that. I was excited and enthused about nutrition, and I talked to everyone about nutrition at my work. I started posting a lot on Instagram. It was something I was very passionate about. And very quickly, a lot of people came to me to work with me, and they also got great results, great weight loss results. And then something kind of happened over the 5 years where I worked as a coach, which is I would have clients lose weight and have success, and then I'd send them on their way, and they would come back to me a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, saying like either, hey, I've regained the weight. They would be back at their original weight. Sometimes they would be higher than their weight that they had initially come to me at to lose weight. And I started to really question what I was doing. Like, okay, maybe there's something that's not working with the methodology. It's so easy to want to blame ourselves, to say there's something wrong with me or my body, instead of questioning the approach that we're using in regards to our body and our health. And I think there's been a definite like cultural shift where more and more people are questioning dieting behaviors and dieting mentality. But a lot of us either are really struggling still with body dissatisfaction, and so we don't know any other way through that except changing our body through dieting, or we are, we're just kind of inundated with the messages. We don't even think to question it. Or us as practitioners, we are also under the illusion that dieting works, and we kind of haven't come to our own awakening, so to speak. So I want to share a little bit of my personal story now, which was last summer. I was at one of my thinnest weights, but I was having like severe body dissatisfaction. I was having a lot of body checking, which is when you're like looking at yourself in the mirror, looking at your reflection, judging your body, assessing your body. I was also experiencing like a lot of negative thoughts about my body, which is another part of body dissatisfaction. And then I was also having like strange, for me, behaviors where I was binge eating. Like I would binge eat a Domino's pizza and brownies. And I'm like, I'm a nutrition coach. What am I doing? Right? I felt obsessed with food. I felt like I was thinking about food all the time. And I was also missing food. So the 4 main kind of symptoms that I was experiencing that maybe you can relate to as well were I was having worsening body image, like a lot of body dissatisfaction. I was having binges or overeating episodes. I was having obsessive thoughts about food. And I was also experiencing missing food. So while I was over here having like a binge of a Domino's pizza, I was also having super restrictive thoughts around my food. Like I would go to the grocery store and be like, oh, I can't get hummus because it has too many fat grams in it. And I would just like look at the hummus and put it back on the shelf. And hummus is like a really tasty, enjoyable food. It also has a lot of nutrients in it. So it was a wake-up call to me. It was a moment where I was like, hey, something is not right, that I like don't even feel comfortable buying and eating hummus. So all of those moments really helped me realize that I needed to make some changes, both to my own approach personally and also professionally. And this was when I sought out and actually hired my own eating coach. I hired an intuitive eating coach. I hadn't hired my own coach in regards to eating for 2021, like 4 or 5 years. I think it was almost 5 years. And it was very powerful for me to work with a coach. I think that's something, if you are looking to hire a coach or a practitioner to help you with things, they should always be like working and developing themselves professionally too. And not just in regards to like mindset or like their financial health or things like that. I see a lot of coaches post about that. They should also be doing more professional certifications. They should be attending conferences. They should be getting continuing education credits. They should be like developing themselves in their practice. And that's something you can look for and ask if they're doing. So I was having these like really negative experiences, and I hired this intuitive eating coach to really help me return to like my intuitive wisdom for eating. Because I had become a macro-based coach, even though I didn't track macros all the time, I was thinking about it all the time, Does that make sense? So it's like I didn't necessarily track macros anymore. In a sense, I felt like I was intuitive eating because I wasn't necessarily tracking my food, but I wasn't really intuitive eating because I was still very consumed by food rules, the food police, monitoring what I ate to make sure it kept my body like the certain size that I felt was acceptable. And so as I was going through this healing experience with my coach, I actually started to gain some weight, which is very normal. Here's the thing. Intuitive eating is not about your weight. So some people lose weight intuitive eating, some people gain weight, and some people maintain their weight. One of those three things will happen to you if you intuitive eat. You will either maintain your weight, gain weight, or lose weight. Your weight is not the goal of the program. The goal of intuitive eating is to heal your relationship to body and food and return you to your innate intuitive eater, which is how you used to eat as a toddler before you were aware of societal expectations about your body, before you knew about food rules, before you knew about food, diets and things like that. You just ate intuitively how you wanted to eat. So I did experience some weight gain, which was scary to me because I was still worshiping the thin ideal. And here's the thing. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that I don't still struggle with those thoughts, because I do, because we're steeped in a culture that's obsessed with thinness, especially for women. And so it's something that I have to fight against every day. And so I just invite you to try on that, if you're a woman, you probably will deal with some body dysmorphia throughout your life, ongoingly, and you have to kind of wake up every day and choose not to engage those thoughts and choose a different way. So I was having some weight gain. I was also having body dysmorphia, which is seeing your body as different than it actually is, seeing your body as larger than it is or smaller than it is. You're basically just not seeing your body accurately. And then I was having anxiety pop up, right? Because here I am gaining weight and I'm having thoughts wait a minute, I'm supposed to be a nutritionist. I help people lose weight. I can't gain weight. This is not right. So I was having a lot of anxious thoughts. And then I was returning to dieting behaviors even during my healing journey. One of the things I've learned about intuitive eating that is really powerful is it's not a linear process. You are going to bounce around things, you're going to make progress and then feel like you went backwards, but it's all part of the healing journey for you. And it's all good and it's all necessary. And it's all a beautiful part of the experience of healing from diet culture and returning to your innate wisdom about your body. So some of the challenges, I think one of the biggest challenges that I experienced while I was engaging in intuitive eating and learning to become an intuitive eater was eating my previously forbidden foods. So, I had made a lot of foods off limits in my mind without even realizing it. So the hummus was an example of, wow, my eating had gotten super restricted, but I didn't even realize how many foods I had made off limits until I actually started allowing myself to eat things that I had forbidden that I liked. One of the cool things about intuitive eating is you actually will discover what you actually like to eat again. So a lot of times people think intuitive eating means all you're going to do is eat junky foods, or we call them play foods, or you're just going to eat processed foods all the time. And right away, I did not want to eat chips. I'm just not a chip eater. Some people are. It's just not my thing. I'd rather have bread. I'd rather have fried chicken. I'd rather have, cookies. But chips are just not really my thing. So it was so interesting to be oh, I'm just not even interested in chips, even though I can eat whatever I want. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Yin. But what I was dealing with was my fear of eating forbidden foods. I had made all sugar off limits. I had made high glycemic carbs off limits, white flour products. I had made cheese off limits. I had made so many foods off limits because I knew that if I ate those foods the way that I wanted to, it could lead to weight gain. And it was cognitively against who I thought I needed to be in my identity and role as a nutritionist who helped women lose weight. So I was grappling with this cognitive dissonance really of, wait a minute, do I even want to keep coaching weight loss if this isn't what I'm doing? So I was eating forbidden foods and I was really experiencing fear of weight gain. one of the things that's so helpful to process and reflect on is if you have a fear of something, like what are you actually scared of underneath that? So here I am, okay, I'm scared to eat my forbidden foods. Why? Because I'm scared I'm gonna gain weight. Okay, why? So what? If I gain some weight, what am I scared of is going to happen? And when I really drilled down about it, I was afraid that I was not going to be able to attract a partner. I was single, I was 40. I was like, okay, like I have my looks going for me, right? Like, I don't know, like what if I gain weight? Now it's going to be even harder for me to find a partner. Like these were the thoughts that were going on in the background for me under my fear. Does that make sense to y'all? And so I also was concerned about my business. Like, is my business going to be successful? Like, will I be able to support myself? If I gain weight, will I have credibility with people? So I had these fears that were underneath that experience and fear of gaining weight. What I started to discover, though, was the thing that I thought was holding me back or could hold me back from achieving the results I wanted in life, like gaining some weight, was actually not the case for me. So for me, what I discovered was weight gain was not hurting the areas of life most important to me. Dieting was. Dieting was actually the behavior that was worsening my anxiety, increasing my isolation from others, and really inhibiting my confidence and my courage. And so what I discovered, it like literally, I had this fear that gaining weight would like prevent me from meeting a partner. And within 4 months of starting my intuitive eating healing journey, I met Hunter, like who you guys know is like my person. I met my partner after years of dieting, after years of being single. I gained some weight and then boom, I met my soulmate. Okay, now I'm not saying it's going to happen like that for everybody, but it was a wake-up call for me that like, ooh, dieting has actually been inhibiting me from achieving things that I want in my life. And why is that? Well, when you are engaged in dieting behaviors, it takes a huge amount of mental and emotional energy, not to mention time in your life. So I was devoting a lot of mental energy and time to thinking about food, managing my food, implementing my food rules, keeping myself thin, exercising, doing all these things. I was exhausted, right? Like, can you relate? Like, I had no energy left over to pursue other areas of my life that were important to me. And so when I gave up dieting and was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm just going to learn how to eat like a toddler again, get back to what I like to eat, listen to my body. I had so much time again. I was like, wow, I have so much time and mental energy to devote to other things in my life. And so I devoted that time to being social and going out to events. And I went to an event on entrepreneurship for a day where I met Hunter and I was putting myself out there. Another thing is I shifted who I was being in life. So like I was scared to potentially gain weight. So I had to be courageous, right? This journey is not about the absence of fear. It is about feeling the fear around eating your forbidden foods, gaining some weight, whatever's going to happen to heal yourself. It's about feeling that fear and then continuing to take action in the face of it. And that's always something that I've like loved about myself is I'm courageous. Like I feel fear and I take action anyway. And so I was feeling the fear around gaining weight, changing my eating, giving up dieting, but I was still taking action. And that translated into my dating life where I was feeling fear of putting myself out there, fear of rejection, fear of asking people out that I was interested in, talking to people I was interested in, and I did it anyway. Right? And it led to something amazing in my life. And I learned another important lesson, which is my body is going to settle at its set point when I am eating foods that satisfy me. I'm listening to my fullness. I'm honoring my hunger. I'm moving my body in ways that I enjoy. I'm taking rest days. I'm drinking my water. I'm sleeping. Like when I just do those things naturally, my body is going to find its set point. And your set point is that place where your body wants to kind of settle out when you're really honoring your intuitive signals around food. So I've learned that my body has a range. I think a lot of us, we get fixated on, I need to stay in this like narrow window. I can only, my body can only change by a few pounds. And I learned that like my body has a range and it's going to settle in that range, and it might flux up or down a bit, and that's okay. Change is a normal part of existence, and our bodies change as well. They don't stay the same. Despite what all the plastic surgery out there says you can do to change your body and keep it looking a certain way, like your body is going to change throughout life. I've learned a lesson, which is I actually like having my curves back. I like having some boobies on me, okay? I like the fact that I have more curve to me. I look at some photos of myself when I was thinner, and like, it's so interesting. Like it's like this lie that you think being thinner is going to make you happier, and it just wasn't the case. Like I was at my thinnest and like very unhappy and lonely and isolated, and I was, gained some weight and like never been happier. And so I'm way happier eating intuitively. I'm way happier in like my set point. I'm way happier in my more feminine body. And so those are just a few of the lessons that I learned from facing my fear of starting to eat my forbidden foods and really start this intuitive eating journey. So I hope that this was inspiring to you today. I'm going to be continuing to talk about my journey, my story. I'm going to continue to bring you into this process because it's ongoing for me too. And that's why I want to teach other women how to do this. Anytime I learn something new, I always want to teach other women what I've learned. It's just something that like brings me a lot of joy, is to share that knowledge. And so I'll be continuing to share that, and we're in it together. I think that's the other thing that I've learned is like, I am not just like the master at the peak, I'm also in the learning process with you as well. I'm just maybe a little further up the mountain, and so I can show you the trail and how to get up there. I hope that you will be tuning in all week long. I have more great content coming for you. If you like this video, let me know what was most helpful from the video, or if you're listening to the podcast replay, let me know what was most helpful for you. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.